All right, so day 2 of vacation. At least that's what I'm calling it. Because there is definitely a point, some days, where I'm like, I just need a little time not doing anything for a bit. So I've been kind of vegging out for the last day. I did some finishing up of some of my plans for my writing. I might see if I can reach over and grab that right now, actually, in case I want to refer to it. All right, so here we go. I've been playing with this a little bit today, but I've been doing some reading, just enjoying my downtime. So I've been reading a story I read years ago that I like to read every now and then because it's a reminder of a writing style that I'm fond of. So I revisit some of my favorite writings every now and then. It gets me in the frame of mind for thinking about the things I want to create. But in the meantime, I think I left off pretty much done with my map of the world. So I needed to figure out the personifications and genie muse region and the space between the wizarding realm and the forest realm. And I want to rename the wizarding realm somehow, so I still got to figure those out. But that's like the 3 things left in my universe. And I sort of came up with an idea for, I know it's Friday, and I said I was going to be done with the writing on Wednesday. But I've gotten to really enjoy this idea. I figured out what I think I'm going to call the setting. Now, there's still a temptation to call it the 13 Realms. And then I kept going back to something like the many realms or the multi-realms or the myriad realms. And I got to thinking about it, and I looked up there because there are 13 of them. There's the name for a 13 13-sided polygon, and it's a very impressive sounding complex word that I'm not sure I could even pronounce, so I'm not going to try. But I thought about that, and I was playing around with that, and then I kind of came up on the realization that, like, there used to be, like, I used to have a teacher that was teaching, I think it was in elementary school, that taught me this little bit of information, and it's stupid that it's a piece of information that sticks with me to this day. But she had said that it used to be known in old sciences that creatures like the octopus were referred to as the polypus because they didn't know how many limbs it had. It just seemed like an uncertain number of swirling tentacles. And so they didn't know it was an octopus. So they could have called it a polypus, as just to mean many. And I got to thinking, like, I wonder if using that sort of idea of the term for many instead of numbering the realms in my setting, instead of saying 13 realms or committing certain people to calling it the 5 realms or the 7 realms or the 9 realms or the 13 or the 12 or however many they imagine it to have. Instead of doing that, building on the idea that they just call it the many realms, or anything more than one. Somebody living on Earth who thinks about there being heaven and hell and equates the realm of the gods with the top of heaven and the realm of the devil with the bottom of hell, would imagine that it's heaven, earth, and hell, and they'd think there are 3 realms, and that's all they would think there are. They wouldn't necessarily say the 3 realms. They might just say the realms, or the many realms, or the multiple realms, or the other realms. And so being able to say something like other realms, that might work. And then like a more sagely awareness of multiple realms. How would I say multiple without necessarily delineating a number? I went, I think I got it. And so I went back and I said, I just figured like the manifold realms. And there's a little of a play on words there, where manifold, you can spell it M-A-N-Y fold, or you can do M-A-N-I fold. And a manifold also has the same meaning as manifold, but can also be applied to an object, an item with multiple channels or paths or ports in it. And I think that sort of fits what I'm going for. So I'm like, so this is my manifold realms, or my manifold realms, or the manifold, the manyfold. So I think that's the name I'm working with right now. And I finished up my sense of the timeline that I built with the different themes of punk. So I have been playing around with some of that still. I'm also aware of the fact that I will be starting to do writing again on Monday. Or no, Sunday. Sunday is the first day of our writing week project. And so I will probably start doing some writing then. I'm not sure if I'll be doing writing for short stories to describe the different realms. If I did that, I would do 2 stories a day for a week. 7 days would be 14, and it's a 13 realms. So I might do that. And then I might also do some writing with some of the story concepts I had for stories about Captain Rita Raygun from the game I made a while back, the tabletop games. I have a sneaking suspicion, though, that what I'm probably going to do in the next 48 hours is dig out all my science fiction series that I had kind of started to assemble into a shared universe and give it the same treatment that I'm doing to this. I do want to kind of potentially build a world Bible for this series. And partly because I do think it would be an amazing setting to build for a role-playing game. Maybe I could even get to the point where I can get the RPG Maker game design set up, and I could build wow, that might be tricky. The manifold realms, manifold realms may be difficult to do that with, because the travel, well, maybe I could do it. I'm feeling like the travel from realm to realm is possible. Like you go to a certain spot and it transports you over to another realm. One of the aspects of the manifold realm is Earth realm isn't just Earth. It's like Earth and Mars and Venus and all those other parts of our solar system, galaxy, and universe. So there's an Andromeda galaxy, and that's just within the Earth realm. And so each of those realms being something that size I don't know that there's a way to explore the entire solar system in an RPG Maker. I think it would be difficult, but it'd be fun to try to play with it. I do need to try to, over the next day or two, work on doing that video, editing and posting that video about the exercise routine I did. Oh, and by the way, I was on time yesterday. I just screwed up and I thought I set it to public, but I set it to private, and I only caught it around like midnight. So it's set to private so nobody could see it. Okay, so I set it to public, and that's why yesterday's went up, or it looks like it went up late. I was on time. I wasn't bad. I was a little late tonight because I was reading something, but and I am very tired. I'm worn out. I did sort of enjoy the day. I feel a little guilty that I did not much of anything today, because there's so many projects that I want to be working on right now. But every now and then, it's just nice to take a day off, not do anything, not feel like I have to do anything. Because the thing is, I'm probably going to leave after this video, which is probably not going to be as long as usual tonight. I'll probably finish this video up, go digging through my stuff on my hard drive, see if I can pull up some of those things about the science fiction settings that I have, and see if I can maybe organize those in a way, just to see if it's, I'm not going to do it all tonight unless I get trapped, unless I get so into it that I can't stop myself. I'll do it some other night, but I'm doing it because I want to at that point, and just playing with it. And that feels kind of nice to be able to do, to not rigidly structure myself to having to do just writing this week or something like that. I've got 3 days, sort of. I was still hanging on to the project yesterday, and not as much today, but I feel like I will probably keep bouncing back into it. I did spend about, I feel like 4 hours earlier today researching mythology and stuff, partially related to my universe, but not a heavy commitment to it. And it's like, I'm not sitting down and saying, like, I have to put an hour or two into this. I'm just playing with it. Yeah, the Google, I've struggled a lot lately with Googling words and their definitions and their synonyms, because there are nuanced meanings to certain things that don't show up in a search. And like, one of the things I was looking at was different ways of referring to the number 13. And it's like triadecahedron would be a 13-sided object, and triadecagon would be a 13-sided object, and I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. But I was trying to look for words that meant the same thing as realm or world, and because the triadeca is a Greek term, I was trying to find a Greek-rooted word for world. And after like 20 minutes of trying to look that up, I'm like, I don't have the energy to keep trying to force Google to give me a result that's useful for what I'm trying to do. So I just stopped caring. And I've hit that problem before when I was looking up things, trying to find synonyms. Is you find these little loops that you get caught in. World means realm means world, which means earth, which means terra or terrain, which means realm, and you just get caught in this little circle. I'm like, I know there are more than 5 terms for realm or earth or world. There are more than 5 terms for this. Stop leading me on the same loop, please. there's a branch off this loop somewhere, and I need to find it, and Google's not helping me. The sources will do that. Google will do that. And there's just a nuance to language that the way I'm trying to use a word maybe isn't the way that most people are looking for an answer for. And so, of course, I'm not going to get the result I need that way. And it's only occasionally when you're wandering through a back connection that you find something that, oh, right. Yeah. Like trying to figure out what's the right word to ask about alternate realities. Are you looking for planes, dimensions, realities, mythical lands? Like those are all words I can do searches for, but you get kind of crummy results when you play with that sometimes. And so I just kind of give up after a little while. And just sort of figure out, like, I'll play with it a little bit, and I have enough of a vocabulary that at some point I'll hatch on a different term for something I'm talking about and use it in a sentence. Like I imagine a couple characters talking to each other, and I'll encounter like, oh, right, they refer to it as this in this particular conversation, which leads me to remember this thing that connects to this, and then I can follow that through a link, get some research that leads me to this thing that talks about this, which gives me some words to look up synonyms for, and eventually I'll get to a point where I can find a channel that works to get me a result that's useful for what I'm trying to do. But I can't force it. Google never gives me the results that I'm looking for. I can't. I have joked with a cousin of mine who works at Google on a few occasions that I am super frustrated with Google because it builds bubbles. It builds a bubble around you. If you've looked up things about how to do chemistry in the past, if you happen to be looking up something about a color, if you're doing some paintings or something like that, and you want to refer to ochre or something like that, it's going to start feeding you mineral-based concepts based off of your previous usage of that. And so it's not going to get me what I'm looking for in some of those searches and stuff. So, and I've had some really bizarre results. I remember telling my cousin that I have a friend in Australia who's marrying a Russian girl. And I was having a political conversation with some other friends about the relationship between people from America and people from Russia, and the relationship of how strained that can be under political circumstances. And so American-Russian relations was a topic we were having when talking about the nations and the political relationship of the two countries. And I went over to my friend from Australia who's marrying a Russian girl and was talking about, like, does she have perceptions of the same sort of perceptions about the relationship between people from Russia and people from America to him? And so we had this nice little conversation about a conversation I was having somewhere else about Russian political stuff. And then ever since then, I keep getting emails in my email inbox and my junk mail box that are talking about how to find Russian brides. I'm like, I never searched for Russian brides. But I mentioned in the political conversation that I have a friend who's marrying a Russian girl. And Google's listening. And they took note of that. And they applied it to all of my future search data so that it gives me results like that. But I don't search for anything about brides often enough. But it still set up a link that I'm getting crap in my emails. I don't know how it did that. I don't know how it approved me for a list of junk mails about Russian brides, but somehow it did that. I've never searched anything like that in my life. And so, yeah, Google gets you some weird results. but I rarely find it useful anymore because I don't look up standard stuff. And when I do look up stuff, I don't want the same results that most people are looking for. If you're looking for something like a term for world, you're looking for Earth, whereas I'm looking for something else. And so the results I get are never what I need them to be. And it makes sense, you know. If you have 400 people in a day who search up the word world, make the result that comes up more often the one they need, because I'm just the one person out of 400 who's looking up that term today. It should return the result that's most valuable to the most number of people. I get it. It just means that this standard method of doing research is not particularly useful for me. I have to go digging through TV tropes and Wikipedia and following any links that seem to be tangential to what I'm doing, but should potentially drag me down a path that may get me somewhere eventually. And sometimes I have to look up works of fiction about a topic to find out that they refer to, or in the plot outline, they'll usually use some of the phrasing that the fiction uses. And that phrasing can lead me down another path that leads me to a result that's maybe more valuable. So it's a really weird adventure for me to try to do any research for the things I try to do, because they're not standard things. Not many people are trying to build 13 different planar realities into a massive multi-setting universe. Nobody's doing that. So the standard models of building systems to inform people aren't going to be valuable for me. Well, they're not going to be lacking value, but their value is going to be minimal to my goal. But I've had a fair amount of fun. I've had a bit of a crappy emotional day, and some of that's down to crappy people online that I was interacting with. But that's neither here nor there. So I haven't had a lot of desire to deal in the realm of doing or making anything online today. I've just been doing some reading, taking a day off. I overate some garbage food yesterday because I finally got enough money to buy food for a week. And so I did sort of splurge on some things. I got some 2 types of sushi, a couple pieces of candy, and a box of Oreos, and I ate the freaking box of Oreos, which is not good for me. It's not made me feel particularly great today. I think it's part of why I'm tired too. I had like a sugar crash from yesterday that I just haven't come back from yet without the full recovery of what I did. And yesterday I kind of got a little frustrated with, I tried to hunt down the ingredients I needed to make some of the foods that I was going to make, and that just, how do you not have these 3 freaking things? Like 4 different stores I went to and none of them had it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to rush it and force it. If it just doesn't happen for these 3 days, then it doesn't happen for these 3 days. I could use 3 days off. That'd be fine. I'll be okay with that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm taking the 3 days. It's a 3-day off. Sunday is back on the battlefield with a writing week. And I need to figure out what I'm going to read, because Monday I have to do the review, and Wednesday I have to do the prompts based off of a book that I have yet to read. So I should probably get on that. And then I have to watch a movie, and then rate, review, and come up with prompts for that. And that's most of this week for this channel, is the writing project, rate, review, and prompts for a book and a movie. And Views Day night, which would be Tuesday, theoretically, I know I've said the last 2 weeks that I was going to do Views Day again, but haven't done it. I think it's time I maybe get back in on that. Maybe I'll just do the movie that I watched this week. Views Day will be the movie that on Thursday I then rate and review. That seems kind of like cheating to me, but since I'm making up the rules, I guess it's not technically cheating. The rules for this channel are my rules. I get to decide what they are. I have to give myself permission every now and then to realize, like, I'm doing this because I love to do creative things, and I'm doing this because I love to learn and explore new things. So I love reading new books, and I love watching new movies. I love playing new board games, and I got to remember that having the fun of exploring those things is part of why I do this. Sharing it with other people, having fun with these things, and exploring my passion. So I got to remember that that's what I'm doing here. I'm not an employee at a job who's required to do this thing at a certain way at a certain time. So I got to remember that. It's easy to forget that sometimes. And I was sort of partially reminded of that yesterday. There's a YouTube channel that I watch. So if you get the chance to go see some of the movie preview style, if that's something you're into, the channel Previewed with Jay and Adam. I've been a fan of their stuff for, I think, over a year. Feels like over a year. And they're sort of like a comedic duo who does reactions, reviews, and then sort of, they used to phrase it as react, review, and riff off of. And so they do a little banter back and forth about the preview they saw. And I enjoy watching their stuff very much. One of the comments on one of their topics the other day was some concerns about getting in front of enough eyes, getting audience views, because they're trying to make sure that they can grow their channel to be sustainable. And in their concern for that, somebody asked if how they should change their format to better draw attention and get the views they need. And I feel like I like them, and I want to spread the word about what they're doing, but I also want to make sure that my experiences in the past tell me that it's very easy to get into the mindset of how should I change myself to better appeal to somebody else. And the danger of that is you will not notice it. It's that frog in the water slowly brought to a boil won't necessarily notice that the water's getting hotter because it's so gradual. You can gradually find yourself one day standing in a group that you don't like the people. They're not your friends and they don't like who you really are, but you're connected to them now because you've pretended to be somebody they want in their lives. You can find yourself quickly trapped in a personality and a way of living that you don't want to be in, and you can't remember how you got there, but you're so far removed from who you are and what you want to be. Like, don't let yourself get into that position. And so I was sort of reminded about that yesterday, and I want to remember that for myself too. So I don't want to chase after something unless it's the place that I want to be in. Like, I want to think about where I want to be 5 years from now and become that person, because that's where I want to be in 5 years. Now, along the way, I may get to a point where I reassess where I'm going, because that's no longer my goal. 2 years down the road, if that's no longer my goal, then that's fine. But it has to be about me becoming who I want to be, and that can change. But it shouldn't ever be me becoming who somebody else wants me to be, because I think that's more important than who I want to be. And so when looking at the things that I'm working on right now, I have to remember, like, this is because these are the things I want to do. When I get to the end of the year, and I got to remember, like, when I started this year with the idea that when I hit the end of this year, I'm going to be able to look back at all the things I did this year with amazement and go, like, I wrote this many books. I made this many video skits. I did this many board game designs. I did all of these things that I'm excited about and passionate about, and I made these ideas real this year. And I did them all in this year. Whereas, like, many people, and me included, like the previous years, I did one or two things a year. And when I really devote myself to the things that I love and I'm passionate about, I could do 9, 10, 12 different things in a year rather than one or two. If I just give myself permission to love and explore the things that I love. And so I got to recenter on that mindset every now and then, because it's easy to get lost in the doing of a thing and forget about the experience of a thing. So that's my 3-day weekend I'm taking here. So I think I'll call it here for tonight, half an hour in, reasserting my intention to enjoy what I'm working on and playing with, and work myself up to being excited about the projects that I want to get started on the coming week and the month here, and see what I can do, what crazy, interesting adventures that I can have. Because I will admit, this last 2 weeks of projects and videos that I've been putting up, I've enjoyed immensely. So I want to do that, maybe space it out a little bit better, not do a month's worth of work in 2 weeks. that can be a bit much, but really, really step into finding a way to get into a pattern of enjoying what I'm doing. So thanks for joining me tonight. I will catch you tomorrow. And like I said, I will be better about being on time so that you'll know where to find me at 10:30 tomorrow. And I will also make sure to do my best not to mark it as private when I record it and not realize it, like I did yesterday. So we'll do better than that, because I do want to share this stuff. It's not just for my own edification, but all right. Have a good one. Take care and have a good night. And gonna go eat something again.